Welcome everyone to our session today. I'm Wesley Holden from the Totoro Learning team, and I'm just here to introduce Bianca. Bianca Baumann focuses on digital education success, combining L&D, digital marketing, and UX UI to create outstanding learning experiences that stick. She has spearheaded multiple projects in the marketing, financial, and events industries, creating award-winning programs along the way. She shares her expertise in her blog and at global conferences, highlighting the importance of including disciplines outside L&D to map out a learner journey that helps drive performance. She published an ebook, which is how I actually found out about her, called The Little Black Book of Marketing in L&D, a practical guide that helps integrate proven and time-tested marketing techniques into L&D, and it's fantastic. Highly recommend it, and we'll provide you the link at the end of the session. Bianca is a certified training and development professional and is currently working as Director of Learning Experience Design at GP Strategies.
All right, thank you very much. I just lost audio there for a quick second, so I hope everyone can hear me. Can you just let me know real quick so I know I'm not talking to myself? Excellent, thank you very much. I just said your internet connection is unstable, so hopefully we'll all be good. Technology is beautiful if it works. Thanks for the introduction, Wes. I'm so excited to be here with you today, talking a little bit about marketing and L&D and what we can learn from marketing. And the most important thing, obviously, is how we can engage our learners. And a term that comes up here at GP Strategies a lot is like ruthlessly relevant, hence the title of the topic today. Like, what is the content that we really need? What is it that we need to engage our learners? Want to talk about that. The presentation today is kind of built a little bit on my new ebook that you can find on my website, biancabaumann.com/ebook. It's the Little Black Book of Marketing and L&D. It's a little practical guide that walks you through on how you can integrate some of the marketing techniques that have been out there for a long, long time into what we do in learning and development. Also want to put out there, I don't want to, tell every learning and development professional that we have to stop doing what we're doing and become marketers, because then we wouldn't be L&D professionals, we would be marketers. So my point is really that, we're good at a lot of things that we're doing, but there's also a lot of things that I feel we can improve upon and get better. Hence, I'm looking to marketing to see what they do to engage the audience. And that's kind of where my passion is really coming from. I used to work at Eloqua, which is now part of Oracle, and a couple of years ago, and this is really where my love for marketing started, and where I realized, hey, they have the same goal, which is engaging the end user. And that's something, we want to do in learning and development as well, of course, and change behavior. And I just feel that marketing is doing it at times a little bit better than we do. And that's what I want to talk about today. So, if we treated our customers the way we treat our learners, we would definitely be out of business. For me, that's something I always keep in mind. You often hear like, oh, L&D needs to be at the table and we need to be part of the business, but we are part of the business, right? And when we go into an organization, or if you are within an organization, you're tasked with building out new training, we really got to look at our learners as our customers. And this way we can build much, much better, or can build better training for them. So, if you would think about how we in learning would sell a perfume, it could look something like this, right? It's an ad for Miss Dior, and here are the bullet points and on why you should actually buy this, and just go out and buy it. Obviously, if marketing is going to sell a perfume, it looks more something like this, right? And I think that really, really shows that major difference between learning and marketing, and would just love to hear your thoughts. So please use the chat or the Q&A, whatever is most convenient for you. What techniques in general do marketers use to promote a product or service that we can actually learn from? Just want to hear your thoughts on this. You can also think about it, not just necessarily promote, but what do marketers do really well? If you think about when you buy a product, why are you buying that product? Thanks, Cedric. Emotional connection, absolutely, right? So that's the biggest one for me. They really know how to talk to our emotions. We see it in training recently a little bit more when it comes to design thinking and empathy, where we really, go beyond the target audience analysis and really think about what drives the learner, what are the emotions, because if we have that emotional buy-in, we get their attention, which means dopamine is released in the brain, which means they're actually learning more. Sell the sizzle, not the steak. Thanks, Andy. I like that a lot, right? So we're really focusing, or marketers really focus on short writing, very precise, and really focusing on the things that make something exciting. Absolutely, I like that. Marketers also use a lot of images and fantasy. Thanks, Erin, for that. Absolutely. Imagery, I think, is something we need to use much, much more of. I was at Learning Solutions last week, and it was a great session on, visual storytelling. And often, we just put whatever image on the slide because, yeah, it kind of looks good, but does it actually tell a story? If the words weren't on the slide, would it work, right? So thank you, everyone. Those are some great examples of, techniques that marketers use. Again, for me, the emotion piece is huge, as well as using images. So what we'll talk about today is really, as I just mentioned it a little bit already, going beyond the target audience analysis. And in marketing, they use personas for that. So we'll talk about that. And I also want to touch on multi-touch point blended solutions, which in marketing terms could also be called a campaign. And then in the last bit, I'm just going to share a couple of free tools with you, which everyone always loves. As Wes was saying in the beginning, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them into the chat or the QA throughout. I always love taking them as we go along. And if I know I'll answer them later on, I would just put it on the parking lot and answer it then. So, I need to create training that is more personalized and really speaks to my learners' needs. I have a feeling a lot of you in the room are in this situation, have been in this situation, new project coming up, and it's just something that learners are asking for more and more, is that personalization piece. And we've also seen it in Don Taylor's Global Sentiment Survey. If you haven't downloaded that yet, if you haven't read it yet, take a look. Personalization is really number one in terms of what we should focus on in learning and development. But how can we get there, right? We're already busy enough. There's a lot going on all the time. And one way of actually going about this is leveraging personas. So personas in marketing are fictitious characters that marketing creates that show the ideal customer. And usually a marketer would create 3 to 5 personas. And what happens with these personas is they're based on actual research that the marketing department does. They talk to actual customers, and then they just, come up with this idea of, this is how a customer could possibly look like. This is the demographic. These are the interests that the customer has. These are the watering holes where this person is going to get some information. And here's how we can engage that person. And knowing all of that information, it's still a fictitious character, but it allows marketers to write content, create content that actually aligns with their interests. And that's something that's really, really important, because if you think about, when you go to a website for the very first time and let's say you're going to research, a new watch, for example, and you're just going to all these different websites that sell watches, and you look at them and you do your research, and eventually as you submit a form and you become what's known as a known visitor, because when you submit a form, you actually put your email address in, they now really start to know who you are based on, the time you spend on the website, the things you look at, the videos you watch, the papers you read, right? The white papers, whatever it is that's connected to their website. It's really your digital footprint. But based on that, they, also categorize you as, fictitious character 1, 2, 3, whatever. They usually have names. And then based on that, all of a sudden you start getting emails. And in these emails, there's content that usually somewhat resonates with your interest and what you're looking for. So that is what marketers do in terms of a persona. So we could actually leverage that idea in learning as well and build these personas. So now you're saying, well, Bianca, we're already doing target audience analysis. Why do we need learner personas for? Well, as I mentioned in the beginning, it does go, in my mind, a little bit beyond that regular target audience analysis. It's more about, empathy. It's more about thinking about some how might we statements, how might we engage some of these learners, and really, really think about what they're doing outside of our organization. So it's not just looking at the data that you can get out of their demographic information, their payroll, whatever it is, the HR information, but it's really what do they do outside. So, you could look at, okay, are they a manager? Yes, no. That's easy. You can find that in their file. What's their role? Same thing, easy. Are they tech savvy? Well, here it already gets a little trickier. Are they? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. How do you find out? Well, you probably have to talk to them, right? But you can also just create two different profiles that say, well, one person is tech savvy and the other isn't, because it would change the way you train them, especially if we think about digital learning solutions. Do they prefer face-to-face training, or is it actually online? Do they get up early in the morning? Are they doing volunteer work outside of work? What do they do in their free time, right? So all these questions you could ask, and you see here it's a mix between, again, HR data that's easily accessible and some data where you just have to do a little bit of research. In addition, if you think about, what are these people doing when they actually access learning, things you could look at is, what assets are they downloading? Do they drop off your videos? Do they share content within your organization? Do they access your content through a mobile device or desktop? Are they leaving comments if your learning system allows that? Do they like content? Do you see any trends? What time of day are they actually accessing your information or your content? Because all of that really helps you build out a different persona. And time of day, for me, that's actually one that's rather easy to do. Most LMSs out there do have a timestamp. And when I talk to clients and people in general and L&D professionals, I ask, so did you ever look at the time of day someone accesses your content? And most of the time, the answer is actually no. But there's so much value in this, because if you know when someone is actually most engaged and motivated to look at your content, why wouldn't you push it out around that time, right? Or send out a reminder or whatever it is to really have them at the time, that they're most excited about accessing content. So all this information goes into creating a learner persona, and it could look something like this. So there's two people here, there's Bert and Apima, and Bert is 43 years old. He's been with the organization for 6 years. He's a manager and he's looking after 5 people on his team. He's really tech savvy and he loves new technology. So when he goes home, that's what he does. He looks into all the new technologies. He actually, because his job is really, really busy during the day, and support, as you can imagine, the phone rings, you just can't plan your learning around that at all, or your training. So he likes to actually learn after hours. He commutes home on the train, so he actually uses his mobile device. And he also likes to volunteer twice a year, different charity events that are organized by your organization. And then on the other side, you have Apima. She's 23. She's a new grad. She's just started in your organization. She's an admin assistant. She's very tech savvy when it comes to Macs, but not PCs. But you're using PCs in your organization. She loves to run, so she usually gets up early in the morning before she comes to work. And that's also her best time to learn, is actually early morning. And she prefers face-to-face training so she can actually ask questions. And another important fact about her is that English is her second language. So now you have these two fictitious people, and you can see just by how different they are that the same training would just not work for them, right? So you have to think about, how can I adjust the training to make it work for both of them? Now you're saying, we're already busy enough, we don't have any money to create different training paths for different people for the same training program. I do understand that, and it's certainly a valid point. Where I would use learner personas are those programs that you run on a regular basis, where it's worth the investment and the time to create 2 or 3 different paths, right? So for example, if you think about your onboarding program, right? In this case, you could create a program that allows Bert here to view short videos on his device when he's commuting home, whereas, you know, you offer the same content in a face-to-face session for people that do prefer that. Again, I do understand the cost that comes with that. Think about programs where you can make it happen, right? Where you can just try it out. And I also always think, you know, if in your organization you want to make a bigger change like this, you know, call it a pilot or a beta and try it out in something smaller and show your supervisors, your manager, your leadership that, you know, there is value in doing it differently, because you engage the learners differently, and you should see a change in behavior much, much quicker than when we put everyone through the same program, right? So learner persona is a great way to help you personalize some of the training. So what are some other questions that you would add to your learner personas as you think about, you know, one of your upcoming projects, for example, something you're currently working on? What are some questions you would ask to get a better picture of who the people in your organization are? And maybe it's helpful if I just go back here so you can kind of see those other questions that we already looked at, or the other areas. What questions do you think would be helpful for your organization? Guess I overwhelmed everyone right now. That's okay. I'm just going to move on, but keep it in mind. Think about, you know, what are some of the questions that you would add to help you create your learner personas for a specific project that you're working on. Oh, thanks, Andy. Why do they engage in learning? So what's their driver? I like that one a lot. Is it career progression? Is it because they have to? We all know that one. That would be the compliance training, right? But yeah, I think that's really, really important, is that motivator behind. I like it. I also sometimes see learner personas that have, like, you know, an extensive bio in terms of where they were before they joined the organization, right? So that might be something you could add as well. So it's a couple of different options to do that. Thank you, Andy. All right. Want to talk about multi-touch point blended solutions now. I know that's a mouthful, but you know, in marketing, these are really just called campaigns, and marketers are doing a great job in engaging us in these campaigns. And I bet everyone on this call is part of a campaign. Just a couple of minutes ago, I was talking about, you know, when you come to a website and you're actually researching some watches, and at some point you become a known visitor because you identified yourself with your email address, and all of a sudden they start sending you in email certain content pieces that are of interest to you. And this is really what a campaign is. A campaign is, and I'll come back to this in a moment, a campaign is either time or action triggered, and it has a call to action. So what that means is either, you know, every Monday morning you receive an email with certain information, or you do something on the website, or you watch a video, or you download a white paper, whatever it is, and based on that action, something else is triggered. It could be an email. You know, usually when we hear campaigns, we think of email, but it could also be a text message. It could actually be direct mail. So there's a couple of different options, but either way, whatever is being sent out to you has a call to action. So marketing always wants us to do something. So going back to our learners, isn't that what we want? We want to engage them, right? We want them to do something. So again, you know, it kind of goes back to that personalized content piece, and our challenge often is that we can't send out that personalized content when the learner needs it most, right? So it's that just-in-time delivery. And this is, again, where these campaigns come in really handy. So again, they're time or action triggered. You can engage through multiple touch points, as I just explained. It could be an email, it could be an email with a link to a video, it could be a white paper, it could be a text message, direct mail. So there's different options. And then, as part of that campaign, marketing also, again, thinks back to that target audience. And what's in brackets here is by no means food or drinks, although tofu sounds like it. So there's tofu and mifu and bofu, which actually refers to top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. So let me explain what that means. So in marketing, they have a funnel that we all go through. So going back to our example of the watches, imagine a funnel and you just start your research. And when you start the research on a product or service, you are on top of the funnel. This is where marketers try to get your awareness, right? So that means when marketers think about a campaign and content that they would send to you when you're on top of the funnel, it's all about awareness. It's more around, hey, I'm here, right? Oh, you're looking for watches? We have watches. It's as simple as that. Then as you do more research on that website and you watch videos or you download a white paper, that company realizes, oh, this person is much more interested now in what we have to offer specifically, and you kind of move down to the middle of the funnel. The middle of the funnel is already narrower, of course, than the top of the funnel, because now, initially, let's say you looked at 5 different companies, now you only look at 3, because those 3 have the feature in, the smartwatch that you want, for example. And then the content adjusts based on, now you're at the middle of the funnel, you're really getting more into that, consideration phase. Like, am I ready to buy this? What, you start comparing features, for example, right? Very different content than, hey, I'm here, right? And then bottom of the funnel, obviously that's where it's the narrowest, because here is where you actually, as a consumer, make a decision on, now I'm buying this smartwatch because I've done all my research and this is what I want to do, but it's still a lot of money. So, you get another email that, in a good way, pushes you over the edge, because now you're like, you know what? In that email, I got the value proposition I needed. Now I'm ready to buy it. But see how that content changes throughout that funnel based on where you're at as a consumer. So my idea is, when you talk about the whole marketing and L&D thing, is that you can actually have different content based on where our learners are. So you can look at a learner journey overall with your organization. I would argue that's getting really, really challenging though. Or you can look at a project and decide on a funnel. So what I love to do a lot is, when we create training for our clients, is that I think about, how do I get more awareness to the specific learning piece, right? Because often we create an e-learning, we put it on the LMS, there it is. What? You didn't know about it? Oh, I'm sorry, right? So just because we built it, we all know that by now, doesn't mean they're going to go there and take it, especially if it's, locked behind your LMS. So one way of going about this is, you could create a promotional video, very short, 20, 30 seconds, that tells people about, hey, there's this new training available. You make them aware of it. You can start managing expectations on, content that you're going to deliver. You can even deliver a little bit of content in there already if you want to. If you have an intranet, you could have a banner that you use on top that's rotating. So every time they log on to the intranet, they actually see, oh, there's a new training piece available. Go old school, use a poster or a flyer, right? So that would be kind of the awareness stage. And then you could just kind of work your way through, the different stages. So consideration phase could be, okay, you actually have someone in your organization who's an advocate, already took the training, and they talk about the training with people at the water cooler, right? And you can actually engage these advocates and help you spread the word about the training. And, bottom of the funnel would be, well, they actually take the training. Right? So you obviously have to decide on the content flow and the different access points. What could that look like? I just gave you an example. But yeah, mapping that out when you start creating a training solution is so important, because then you can not just personalize that content, but you can also have them access it at the right time. So here's an example of something I did in the past. So we did onboarding. I think everyone does that. And one piece of that onboarding was competitor training. And I found it really interesting that we put everyone through the exact same training, because I saw the sales guys sitting there, wanted to, have so much more information on the competitors, and we didn't necessarily deliver. And then we had an admin assistant sitting in the same training, and she couldn't care less about the competitors. Yes, you need to know who they are, but you don't have to go into a whole lot of detail. So I decided, hey, why not create a campaign for the competitor training within the onboarding? And I know there's a lot of boxes on here, but let me walk you through. So what we did is initially we had a kickoff session with everyone. We set everyone into a room and said, hey, this is competitor training as part of your onboarding, just managing expectations. And as part of the training, you will actually receive a number of emails. And we also used a chat bot. So that was another touch point for us to push and pull content. So after the kickoff session, they received their first email. The email had a link to a white paper about competitor A. Now, the beautiful thing is when you have email in place, you have a lot of data as well, because you can actually see, did someone open the email? Yes or no. If they did not open the email, you can resend email number one, slightly different subject line, slightly different content, but link to the same resource than before. If the email was opened, great. The week after, they got email number 2 with a link to a video. And then you see how this repeats, right? Every time we send out an email, you can see if it was opened or not. If it wasn't, you would resend it. And so the weeks went on with different emails, different content. You get videos, resources. Every week we focused on a different competitor. Then after week 3, we actually added in a chatbot component too. At the time, we worked with Slack, and we used Obi, which is a chatbot that integrates right into Slack. And Obi allows you to push and pull content, and it creates a campaign within the chatbot if you want to. So you can hook it up to your Google Drive, for example, and learners can go in and ask what, how, and why questions. So they pull the content, or you can push it at a certain time, which is actually, we had both set up. So we pushed content around certain competitors at a certain time out to our learners. And so it went on for a couple of weeks, about 5 weeks in total. And then we had a closing session, everyone back into the room. So how is this now personalized? Well, each email used what's called dynamic content. What that is the email framework looks the same for everyone, but you can change the content pieces within each email based on the learner's role and department. So we programmed it in a way that we said, okay, if the learner is in sales, they get all of this content in detail. If they are in marketing, they get a slightly different level of detail. If they're in administration, they get the least amount of detail. And so this way we could actually personalize it. We didn't waste anyone's time on going through email and learning about things they don't have to learn about. And we also had the chatbot in place, which allowed us to push out additional content as needed, or allow the learner to pull it at the point of need, right? So a couple of things. Did the emails always work? Did they always get opened up? No. So we had a little bit of, manager help there that, we pulled reports and said, well, this person on your team didn't open the emails yet, so you got to follow up. And so, yes, there's a little bit of that, but overall, it was a really successful little pilot that we rolled out. And yeah, I've been trying ever since to integrate something similar into learning solutions, because you usually have a marketing automation tool in place. So go to your marketing department and make friends, bring cookies, that helps. If not, there's free options like MailChimp. I'm going to talk about that in a second. It's free for up to 2,000 users, so you can just start playing around with it, right? So just one way of how you can actually create blended learning solutions leveraging a marketing campaign. So real quick, and will be another 5 minutes or so, where could you see yourself using learning campaigns in your organization? Do you have a project right now where you're like, oh my gosh, I got to try this out? New product training. Thanks, Erin. Yes, I think that's a really good one because, again, it depends on who's taking the training. The salespeople will have to have a lot of knowledge about what does the product do now? How is that different to what our competitors are offering, right? What are the new features? Yeah, absolutely. Whereas, someone in marketing should be able to talk about it. If they go to an event, they might not have or they don't need to necessarily the details. Someone who's in, again, HR probably just needs to know that there's no product out there when they talk to new recruits, right? So yeah, I think that's a great example. Thank you. All right, free tools. That's always everyone's favorite. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money on to get any of this done. Canva is one of my favorite tools to do anything graphics related. They also have really, really great tutorials on, how to not become a graphic designer, but being on the right track, doing the right things. They have a ton of templates for emails, banners, infographics, like whatever it is you need. So Canva is a really, really cool tool, and it's free. So make sure you leverage that as you build out your marketing assets for learning and development. Fonts, super important as well. Two sites I like to use a lot is Font Pair and What Font. But whereas What Font is what you call it, an add-on for your Chrome browser, and it actually allows you to just copy the font in, and then you can see what font it is. I don't know about you, like often I'm on websites, I'm like, oh, this font looks so amazing, I want to know what that is. So What Font helps with that, whereas Font Pair allows you to pair fonts, as it says, so you can actually go in and see most popular font pairs. In general, you don't want to have more than two, but it's a great way of leveraging, or it's a great way of building more visually appealing presentations and emails and whatever else you're working on. Accessible color palette builder, and now it's a mouthful, and that's the actual name of the platform as well. I love it because obviously accessibility is becoming more and more important in everything and every day, in everything that we do every day. And it actually shows you if your colors are accessible, and it gives you that little grid here that tells you exactly what works and what doesn't work. I find that extremely helpful. Yes, we want everything to look nice and be pretty, but if it's not accessible to everyone, very, very important that we think about that as we build out our assets. And then MailChimp, I just mentioned it. There's a couple other free ones out there. MailChimp is the one I'm using personally, and I like it a lot. It allows you to create campaigns that are, for example, time triggered or action triggered. They have great little help sections to guide you on how to build this out. You can build landing pages in there as well. So, just sign up, play around with it a little bit. And again, I think it's free for up to 2,000 users. So lots of goodies in there as well. And you can build your own email course, right? So to sum it up, we talked about personas, which really goes beyond that simple target audience analysis that we do in L&D. Ideally, you want to create 3 to 5. That gives you a really good starting point. And, once you have these personas, it really helps you be more empathetic towards your learners. It helps you come up with the how might we statements. And it just really helps build that foundation for a really, really great learning experience. Campaigns or multi-touch point blended solutions, just a great way of deciding on certain content pieces and flow and delivery channels, and then pushing them out at a certain time to your learners so they can or have them pull the content in time of need. So it's that just-in-time delivery and very relevant content for your learners. And then, of course, leverage some of the free tools such as Canva or the MailChimp to create your first campaign. Just play around with it a little bit. It's a lot of fun. What I want to leave you with is, all of this is a lot of fun, but you can't put lipstick on a pig. What I mean by that is if your content that you currently have in place is not in proper order, you've got to start there first, right? So you have to go through proper content strategy to understand what content is available to you. Content is not just a written word in your e-learning modules. It's all the media and the images you're using and the videos. So it is a business asset that you have. And, often there is not a central repository of here's all the content that's available. But I highly recommend you go out, talk to different departments, see what's out there, try to get a repository of kind, start using and repurposing content where you can. But yeah, you got to have that in place first before you go out and do all the fun stuff. Not that content strategy planning isn't fun, but it can be quite cumbersome, as you can imagine. So again, download the Little Black Book of Marketing and L&D if you want to, get a deeper dive into what we talked about. There's an additional 3 chapters in there that, you can learn about. And yeah, feel free to, reach out to me at any time. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn and Twitter. And just want to see if there's any questions before we log off. Thanks, Erin. I like that. Erin says, download it. That's awesome. So Wes, I don't know. It doesn't look like there's any questions. So I'll give it over to you again.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Bianca. And thank you all for attending today. You can access Bianca's website, biancabaumann.com. And she's got the ebook there, as well as lots of other great resources and things like that. And please, if you want to reach out to us, you're welcome to reach out to totor.community. You can come find me there if you have questions, either about this presentation or if you're interested in Totor or Learn. And I'm happy to point you in the right direction on questions around that. So thank you all for your time and attention. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.